All right, everybody, welcome back. We are still on the Hayden Hatten train, and we looked at the numbers. The numbers were impressive. The numbers stood out in some very positive ways. There were definitely some things we could learn from those numbers. But now we should be seeking to understand what he's going to bring as a player, because obviously he's not going to get into the NFL and he's going to get targeted 10 times a game. He's probably not even going to get targeted once a game. In fact, honestly, we hope that he doesn't get targeted once his rookie season, because that would mean all of our main receivers stayed healthy. But let's try to see what he's bringing to the table here. I've got some pros, I've got some cons, a little bit of a scouting report, I guess you could call it. And let's go through it one by one and just talk through what he's bringing as a skill set. The good, the bad, the mixed, the needs work, the et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I think the thing that really stands out about Hayden Hatten would be that he's an excellent deep threat. He's really skilled at tracking the ball over his shoulder, adjusting to an underthrown ball, finding the ball in the air, and finding ways to make good things happen when he's targeted on a deep throw. So I will admit that his slow 40 time is concerning. That's definitely something to where you wonder how it translates, right? Like you would typically want to be somebody with downfield speed to be able to be a NFL caliber deep ball catcher. So the fact that he doesn't have that makes me wonder how it's going to work against better competition. But he does find ways to overcome his lackluster speed and get open deep downfield despite the lack of speed. So he was very productive and very efficient when targeted deep down the field. We'll see if it translates. One thing that I think will translate are his hands. He's got extremely good hands, very few drops in his career, high catch rate. I think that he was targeted on less than 100 passes that did not get caught in his career across 340 something targets. And he has 5 drops. He's got smaller hands, but they're very strong hands and very good hands. So we can at least say that if he manages to get on the football field, he will probably find a way to bring in any ball that comes his way that he can get his hands on, because once he gets his hands on them, he's probably in good shape. And even though he isn't a big guy and he doesn't necessarily have elite strength, he has enough to get off press at the line of scrimmage. So even though some people might look at this guy and say, oh, he might be a slot receiver in the NFL, and he could play some slot, I suspect that he will find success as an outside receiver as well, because he has the ability to beat press. He showed that in college. He was mostly an outside receiver in college. So I do see him as somebody who can play with that physicality that you need when you're on the outside. He does have some open field ability, like he can make things happen when he's in the open field. He can set up defenders for extra yards. He can set things up for a lot of running after the catch. It's not a big part of his game, but once he's in the open field, I think you have something. So that could be a part of his game as we go on here. Again, you saw the numbers. Yak is not a big thing that he offers, but I do wonder if he could be a decent return man in the NFL. I wonder if he could be a decent returner at the NFL level. He did it very, very little in college, but he did occasionally do it. And that open field ability might work in the special teams. He's got some burst and acceleration to get open on his routes. He's not fast, but he does have a little bit of ability to get off the line quickly and get at his top speed quickly, and also vary up his routes, like shifting gears to find ways to get open. It's okay. It's not great, but it is there a little bit more than the 40 time would tell you. He's an explosive leaper. He can go up and get jump balls that are up above him. He can go get balls that are outside of his catch radius, or rather, I should say he has a bigger catch radius because of his explosiveness. It does show up occasionally. It's Not a huge part of his game, but you saw the testing scores. There's something there. He's a good athlete in that regard. So he's a good leaper. He's productive to all three levels of the field. Relatively good route running abilities, although I feel like there's some untapped potential there. But over his collegiate career, he was productive short, intermediate, and deep. He's got good body control. He's somebody who can make sideline catches. He's somebody who can make back of the end zone catches. Somebody who can contort his body backwards to get a ball that was thrown behind him. He's able to make catches outside of his frame because he approaches catching the ball correctly using his hands. And over his career, he caught well over 50% of contested catch opportunities. I can't remember the exact number, but I know it was over 50% significantly. So he's good in traffic, even though he's not a big guy, even though he's not, he's not Kelvin Benjamin. He's not somebody that you would typically look at as a contested catch guy. He's actually quite good at bringing them in, despite being of just average size. All right, so now let's get to some of the cons. I don't have a ton here, honestly. I think that when you're talking about a UDFA guy, you just hold him to a lower standard because you understand you're not getting Calvin Johnson here, right? You're not getting Randy Moss. You're getting Hayden Hatten. So expecting Hayden Hatten to be somebody who can run a 4.240, that's goofy. You're not going to do that. But a few things that I think are worth noting with Hayden Hatten. Not a lot to offer as a run blocker. He doesn't have the size for it. He doesn't have the power for it. He does have okay strength in terms of like beating press, but he's not much of a run blocker. You're not bringing him on to do that kind of stuff, so don't think he's going to be a run blocker for you. His 40 time at his pro day, it was a little bit concerning, right? Because he's not a big guy. He's got average height and slightly above average weight, and his arms are short. So typically you would see a guy that size and go, oh, he's probably a 4.4 guy or a 4.3 guy. But he's a 4.6 guy. And we obviously just went through the Jake Bobo stuff where Bobo has overcome his slow speed to be a productive player, but Bobo's an excellent run blocker. Hayden Hatten is not. Bobo brings other things to the table here, and Bobo's a little bit of a bigger guy. Hatton's not really. So it's troubling that he's a 4.6 guy, if he truly is. If it was just a bad day at his pro day and he's actually a 4.5 guy, that's one thing. His yak ability is very limited. He doesn't break tackles or survive contact all that often. It feels like it's getting better, but even by the end of his career, he was only getting about 25% of his yards through yak, which we've definitely seen better, right? You've definitely seen better. He's somebody who tends to kind of get what is there at the time he catches the ball. He's not somebody who is going to make a lot of things happen after the catch, I don't expect. He doesn't have the breakaway speed for it, which is why a lot of his deep balls don't end in the end zone. And also, this last thing, I don't think he separates as much as he could. And I saw one scout put it this way. He trusts his ability to catch in traffic to the point where he just kind of is okay with being covered when he's being targeted. And that might be a big reason why there are so many interceptions on when he's targeted. That might be part of the problem here. So that's concerning. We definitely have to be aware of that, and that's probably something that needs to get better in the coming years if he wants to make it in the NFL. Especially if he has the ability to separate but just chooses not to. All right. I will see you guys later. That's it for my pros and cons on Hayden Hatten. One more video, and then we are done with the rookie evaluations.